Can you hear me?
I can. How's it going, Brian?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I left you a voice message. Okay, you're in California, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and we met on TikTok. You run a construction company. How long have
hmm
you been running the company?
Since 2018.
18, okay. How many employees?
It's all subcontract work, and then we have two in-house employees that help me run inspections and answer phone calls.
Okay. Answer phone calls, do quotes and sales and stuff?
Yeah. One is the one that posts all my content like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Google, Yelp, and then he's the same guy that goes to the inspections and gathers the content. I get all the content and send over the quote. And then we have a CSR basically who's just answering all the inbound phone calls and then doing cold calls on downtime.
Okay. So, okay. And what kind of numbers are you doing?
I mean, last month we had a really good month. It was like 310K.
Okay.
But this month, like right now for this month, I'm at like 50K. It's like it's slower. I think it's because it's the summer. But yeah, we're like at 50. I'm hoping to hit like 150 by the end of the month.
Okay. And what do you think you'll do by the end of the year?
Uh, Maybe like 1.8.
Okay. And what would you like to do by the end of the year?
Uh, by the end of the year, I'm looking at having just getting more leads so that I can obviously have more sales. I would like to consistently be at 300K in consistent like 30% profit. I think if I can stay consistently hitting those numbers, then I'd be able to bring on like one or two more guys with ideally like I'm getting like about 80 to 90 leads a month right now, and we close like 25%. I get more phone calls than that, but we don't mark all the phone calls as a lead unless we're actually going to the inspections or we're actually submitting a quote based on like photos that they sent over. So we get more phone calls than that. They're not all leads. And
Okay. So it could be
I'd like to
lower
be.
than 25% then.
What was that?
So it could be lower than 25% if you count the phone calls.
Yeah, if you count all the phone calls and stuff, yeah. But
Okay.
sometimes we get calls for like things we don't service or anything like that.
Okay. All right. So you would like to be north of 3 million.
Yes, for sure. Okay.
Okay. And why do you think you're not there yet? I mean, it's been a while.
So I just hired a CSR like last what on just in December. The numbers started going up. I was before like mid last year. I was averaging like maybe at like 80 to 100K. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't going too hard on social platforms, but even now, I don't even get too many leads on social platforms. Um, why I'm not north of 3 million, I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. What is it you want to accomplish on this call before we get too deep into this?
Um, I'm honestly just like really looking for help. Like I tried different services as far as like a Google SEO company. I tried like different like lead gens to just bring in more leads, to bring in more sales. Like I feel like I'm doing what I can, posting consistently to try to bring in more qualified leads and and then just get myself to, like you said, like north of 3 million. Hopefully hire, you know, one or two more guys by the end of the year. I'm expecting a third kid in September. And so I'm just trying to grow the company, have some more help, generate some more leads, and just do my job as like the CEO to point people in the right direction and just bring in more leads to kind of feed everyone. And so I'm just kind of keeping my options open. I like the things that you were saying about business and stuff like that. It got my interest. And so I'm just kind of keeping my options open to see, you know, how we can progress, or how you can possibly help me, you know, make some decisions or see some things that I don't see. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you might be under 20% or 25% in terms of closing leads, that would be a concern to me. And I'll give you a quick example. We were working for a roofing company who a 27-year-old roofing company that was closing about 20 to 22%. And he was not, well, actually, he was happy with it because he felt, after 27 years doing $2 million, he was happy, right? Because he couldn't find people. So he kept blaming the economy, and he kept blaming the fact that there was no good tradespeople to be found anywhere. And that's why he was not doing 27 million, more than $2 million after 27 years. So we started looking at his business. We did a forensic analysis of the business. And one of the first projects we did was to triple his workforce. So the problem wasn't what he thought. But the biggest problem was branding and differentiation. He did not have an unfair advantage. And how we brought his 20% to 80%, I want you to hear me, was by creating different brands. So let me give you an example. He was paying a shit ton of money for these leads, and I'm assuming you are as well, right? So you buy these leads, you close them, you make money. You don't close them, you lose money, right? And at the end of the month, it all washes out, and eventually you make money. But the thing is, whether you close 20% or 80%, it's almost the same type of work, right? And what we did was, by creating we actually created 4 different brands for him. But by creating a second brand, now we can go back to these leads that didn't close for whatever reason. And now we're going back to these leads with insider information, right? So when a new salesperson calls him on the phone and pretends it's a cold call, by chance, are you going to be replacing your roof over the next 5 years? Well, in fact, we are in the process of getting quotes. Oh, where are you? Then he says X address. Oh, are you in that blue house with a blue door? We worked on several houses down the street from that house. I keep looking at your roof. I keep meaning to knock on your door, and I'm glad I'm calling you now. I didn't realize it was you. And but now you already know what kind of dogs they have, what kind of kids they have, what they do for a living, what their budget is, what type of shingles you're looking for. You have a lot of inside information. You know what type of cars they have on the driveway and what the potential budget might be. With that insider information and the fact that you know their house, you know their community, you know their neighbors, allows you to increase those sales, right? And now you know what price he turned down. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go lower than that price. Now that you have credibility, sometimes you can go 10 or 20% higher than your last price and still close the sale. Okay? Because what was happening with COVID was a sticker shock, right? Material costs went up drastically, right? So you remember prices going up drastically, and people don't have the courage to say, I didn't realize this roof was going to cost, $16,000 or $20,000. The last time I did a roof, it was $5,000. So the first 5 or 6 people that come in thinking they're going to get a price at $5,000 or $6,000, and they come in between 16 and 20, the first 5 are, executing themselves to educate the client. So the first 5 or 6 don't even get a chance. So if we were one of the first 5 or 6, we didn't have a chance. We were just there to educate them on the new price level, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But the client's not going to say, well, I thought it was going to be 6,000. You're quoting me 16 to 20. They need to save face, and the only time they can save face is with a new company, right? So when the new company comes in and says it's going to be $18,000, now the client can say, yeah, I thought so. Right? But that only happened because the first 5 or 6, sacrificed themselves. Right? And that's what happens a lot. So when you have a second and third brand, now you're closing a lot more of these leads. Okay. And that's how you're going to get a business, to 5 million or $20 million. We've been doing this for over 40 years, actually. I started my first construction business when I was 17, made my first million before I was 25 in the construction industry. So
That makes sense.
there are strategies to be used, and I'm not sure that you're using them yet. I mean, it's a good thing you're trying to use social media. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries.
But for an example, my videos get 20 million views every 7 to 10 days. 20 million views. Okay. How many clients could you close, or your salespeople close, if we put you in front of 20 million future potential clients? Right? Organically. Now, the difference between a paid ad and an organic ad, the credibility is night and day, right? Because people know you're paying for that ad. You're trying to buy credibility. You don't deserve to be on the first page of Google. The only reason why you're on first page of Google or Facebook is because you're paying for it. So you lose credibility by doing that. So when you do it organically, and they already know you, they already know your personality for the past 3 months, 6 months, then when they see, your branding and differentiation create an unfair advantage, you have a much bigger opportunity to close it because they already trust you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can help you get there probably 5 or 10 years sooner than you can on your own, but you're going to need to change a little bit. And are you willing to change?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to say I'd like to say so. I'd like to say I'm pretty open minded, and I and I like try different things, and I'm pretty committed. So
Okay. It's not about trying different things. It's about using what works.
yeah,
We don't try different things. We just keep, improving on what has worked for the past 20 years.
yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
And again, the construction industry is the most profitable industry. You guys should be making a shit ton of money. On 1.8, what is the net profit?
Um, I'm basically always low on cash.
Mm, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. How Okay, tell me about your bookkeeper and accountant.
Uh, I mean, they send me like a quarterly P&L report. I don't really look at it too much. I just know how much or how little I have in my account when it comes time to pay taxes or pay for certain things. I feel like still, struggling to make certain payments on time and things like that. Uh, so
Mhm. Mhm.
that's kind of where I'm at. Like I felt like last year there was a couple projects that didn't pay me. Like one didn't pay me like 47K, another one didn't pay like another 30, and that definitely set me back. But it shouldn't have set me back so much that I keep using as an excuse if I like sell 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. I should have already been caught up. But I still feel like I'm not saving as much as I should.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
So, Brian, if I was involved, sorry, if I was advising you, I would say the first thing we have to do is fire your bookkeeper and accountant because you're paying for a service you're not getting, right? They should be giving you daily reports saying, here's your budgeted, here's your actual. You're half an hour behind on project number 3. You need to catch up. You budgeted, 3 hours for demolition. Now you're going on the 4th hour. Like, what the fuck's going on? Right? So your numbers are the steering wheel of your bus. If those numbers are late or inaccurate or 3 months old, like what the fuck is good as that?
Hmm.
Right? Your numbers need to be as old as half an hour ago.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense.
I mean, it's like driving a bus with a blindfold on, right? At highway
Hmm.
speeds. It's ridiculous. And what you're forced to do, you're forced to make decisions based on what you have in your bank account without knowing what you have to pay over the next month or two, right? That's guesswork. That's Russian roulette. You cannot run a business this way. You know, eventually you're going to hit a tree and you're literally this close to it.
Hmm.
Okay. So, what kind of salary are you taking?
It's just I just have my business account and I basically pay everything through that. So I don't
Okay.
any salary or anything that I just they pay modern builders, and from there like I pay everybody else and I pay for my expenses and everything, so it's not like it gets transferred to a different account or anything like that.
Yeah, that's not how you run a business, Brian. I'm sorry. But again, you hire a bookkeeper and accountant to be your advisor and show you your numbers and show you based on what you're doing, this is where you're going to be 3 months from now, right? That's the kind of advice that you should be getting. And they should be doing weekly cash flow projections. Brian, you have 50,000 in the bank account, but 70,000 is going to go out in 2 weeks. So you don't
Hmm.
have 50,000 in your bank account. You're actually minus 20 in your bank
Hmm.
account, right?
Hmm.
That's how you
Hmm.
make business decisions. Or over the next 3 months, Brian, you're going to have an extra $100,000 in your bank account. And
Hmm.
that piece of equipment you were thinking of buying, maybe we should start talking about that. Let's get some contracts for that piece of equipment to make sure we have a break-even analysis on that piece of equipment. We have signed contracts before we buy that piece of equipment. That's how you run a business. Okay. Brian, there's a shit ton of money to be made in the construction industry. It's not the way you're doing it. Okay. And chances are the reason you're getting contracts is because of your price. How many reviews do you have?
111 on Google and like 160 on Yelp.
Okay, that's quite a few. That's pretty good, actually. What's the number? 4.8, 4.9? What is it?
I believe they're both like at 4.9.
Okay.
No,
4.9
I
is pretty
think I
good.
think Google's at 5, and then Yelp might be like 4.8 or something. I don't know.
Okay. 5. It's almost impossible to get a perfect score. Because when you have a perfect score, people don't believe it. People are going to think you bought it.
4.9. Yeah, 4.9.
4.9. Okay.
Yeah,
Keep a
4.5 on
close
Yelp.
keep a close eye on them and respond to positive and negative reviews instantaneously. Okay.
Gotcha.
Um, and it also sounds like you're paying a lot of money for your people. Um, your social media manager should be in the Philippines, because in the Philippines they're trained for the social media management is the biggest export in the Philippines, right? And you're going to get, you know, you're going to pay $600 a month for someone you're going to pay $60,000 a year where you live. You're going to get the same service, if not better, in the Philippines. Okay. And now that extra money goes straight to the bottom line.
Makes sense.
So, I mean, there's a lot of ways we can help you, but certainly increasing your revenue, but more so increasing your bottom line. Because if you're not comparing budget to actual, if you're not saying, you know, the framing on this house or the framing on this kitchen or the tile installation on this project was, you know, 20 man hours and we did it in 18. If you don't know that every day, then you're not controlling your jobs, right? You got to compare what you budgeted and what the actual is. Either the budget was wrong or the actual was wrong, but you got to compare the two, right? I'll give you an example. What's your normal markup?
1.45 is like the bottom.
One
So
point.
between Yeah, so between like 1.6 to 1.45.
Um,
So on
so if
10K times 1.45.
so you take all your expenses times 1.45,
Yeah.
that's 145. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that'd be like 14.5. 14, yeah. So 10 like a 10K project times 1.45, that's 14,500. So 45.
14,500.
Yeah.
So
So
um
so on a 14.5 project, I'd be making 4.5.
okay, so that's like 40%,
Yeah, I think a little less, like 30 to 40.
30 to 40%. Okay, so here's an example. You did 1.8 at 40%. You've got a calculator. What is that? 1.8 times 1,800,000 times 40%, right?
That's 720.
Right. So that's what you started with. You did those projects. So you should have 720 at the end of the year, right? If you're running these projects the way you're supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
and you have accurate numbers. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why you need tablets on the job site. So people are, you know, these people, your crew chiefs have to give them um goals, right? And but what's really confusing here is you're doing subcontract work. So
Yeah.
so so it's more baffling actually, because if your employees were you know, on the hour, they were hourly employees, I could see this happening. But if it's, you know, piecework or subcontract work, how is this happening? It doesn't make sense,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? There's something majorly wrong here,
Mm-hmm.
right? So so what happens when there's a cost overrun? When there's when there's change orders? What happens with change orders?
Um, Recently it's been good. We have done a couple change orders when it's like unforeseen working conditions, and it does work out, and they we sign the change orders, and it's the same thing. It's still at the same markup. So recently it's been fine over the past like month. I think every job has been pretty positive. But like let's just say I quoted a paint project last month, or we did a paint project for 5,000, and it cost me 7,500, so I lost 2,500 on that paint project because I thought we were going to be getting it done in a certain amount of time, and it didn't. I didn't charge the homeowner more,
Okay,
and
hold
yeah.
on, but it's subcontract, right? So
That one wasn't
that
the
one
so I
wasn't
have
okay.
two guys, yeah, two guys that are dailies.
Okay, so you got to look at that because subcontract work is the best way to control your costs, right? So what percentage of your work is subcontract as opposed to hourly? I think you froze. Are you there? Okay, you froze for a few minutes there. So what percentage of your projects are subcontract or hourly as opposed to hourly?
I would say maybe like 75%.
75 is which one?
Sub work.
Okay. Well, that kind of explains, your lack of money in the bank account, but not really. It's still 75% of controlled costs, right? The
Mhm.
other thing that you said that I really didn't like was that your change orders are the same markup as your original quote. That doesn't make sense because don't forget a change order is a disruption, right? It slows down momentum. It creates havoc on morale. You have to get extra material. It just changes the schedule completely. You cannot charge the same price as the original, right? Are you charging design fees? Are you using
Design
it
fees.
design fees? Are you using interior designers? And by the way, what's your major project? What kind of work do you do?
Uh, I would say I do more of a stucco and roofing right now.
Stucco and roofing. Okay.
Yeah, I do painting and drywall as well, but I don't get as many leads for it like I do for roofing and stucco.
Okay, so you have roofing subcontractors, you have stucco subcontractors who are only doing stucco, right? And the roofers
Yes.
are only doing roofing, and the
Yes.
painters are only doing painting,
Yes.
right? And they are experts at these things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you just need more leads for all those income streams,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Okay. And you have partners or just you? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And what kind of equipment, trucks, what do you have?
Basically, I just have one work truck. I just have the one work truck, Tacoma 17, but it's not wrapped.
And that's what you drive?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're basically a sales organization and you deal mainly with subcontractors, right?
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know, sale companies like that should be in the 20 million range because all you do is sales, right? You have one job to do, and that's close a project. That's it. So
Hmm.
you should be closer to 20 million by now,
Hmm.
right? Because you're delegating all the or most of the responsibility to yourselves.
Yeah. In
You're
the first couple years, I did try to do some of the building, some of the roofing installs, some of the drywall and painting and all that stuff myself. So I went through a lot of that until like kind of stepping away really and just doing it this way and finding better subs that didn't let me down and things like that, where I started pricing better. And so, last year, late last year was better. Like mid last year, so everything started, being a little bit more profitable, and then definitely this year is a little bit better. But still, if the numbers are the numbers and the sales are the sales that I'm getting, I should have more money in the bank. So
yeah, yeah. Well, your instincts are correct. I mean, it was a good move to go subcontract route to control your costs. But there are advantages and disadvantages, right? The problem is you can't get your subs to wear a uniform, um, because image is extremely important, right? And as soon as they put on the uniform, they are employees. It doesn't matter what the contract says. So be careful in that. Um, so I think you have a good opportunity here. You just need to have a better foundation under your company. Your foundation right now is on sand, but that can be changed. That can be built on bedrock, and this is what we've been doing for the past 40 years. So there's a number of ways we can help you. One is what we call an interim CEO program. That's $100,000 a year, and that's the quickest way to get you to 5 million or 10 million or 20, depending on how fast and how ambitious you are. The second program is what we call an advisory plus a done for you program. So that would be between $500 and $1,500 a month, with about a $3,000 a month marketing budget. And the lowest one would be an advisory program only, which is between $500 and $1,500 a month. And you could also join the group mentoring, which is $44 a month. I would suggest you join the individual. Let's start small and gradually work up until we build trust. I would start with the $500 a month individual advisory, and you automatically get access to the group advisory, because being part of a group of business owners who are struggling like you are, you can learn a lot from them as well. And the other thing that I strongly suggest we do is have a look at your financials, because I have a feeling they are a mess. I mean, getting
yeah.
reports once a quarter or even monthly is ridiculous, right? It really is ridiculous. You need to know. I'm assuming you're using QuickBooks online.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be able to say, send me a 4-year comparable, and in 15 minutes you have it. All right. And it's as old as half an hour. That's how you make business decisions. You can't, otherwise, you're making emotional decisions. So I'm going to leave it up to you. I'm going to strongly suggest you start with the individual, $500 a month. You get group. But we normally charge $5,000 to look at your financials and look at your profit leaks. I'll do it for 2,500 because I want to work with you long term. We don't have to do that, this week or even next week, but I would suggest we do it, within the next 2 weeks. If you want to start and do a couple of sessions first, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But that means you're still driving the bus at highway speeds with a blindfold on. Okay. What would you like to do?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The $500 does make sense. And then I'd say like 2 weeks do the financial.
Okay. How long have you been working with this accountant? And
Uh,
how much are you paying him?
uh, for I think it's just for like the bookkeeping is like 175 a month.
Okay. Sometimes when you go cheap, it costs you a lot of money, right? Right now, it's costing you a lot of money. You should
Mhm.
be paying at least 1,000 a month, right? But that information would have landed you at least $5 million by now. Because if he showed you the information, if he showed you the trends and the profit leaks and all that, you would say, okay, I got to fix that, right? If I mean, if one of your family members comes home with a bullet wound, right, and you see bleeding all over the place, the first thing you say is, "Hey, we got to fix that," right? If you don't know that they have a bullet wound and you don't know they're bleeding all over the place, how can you fix it, right?
Yeah.
So 175 in this case is way too much because you're not receiving a service. You don't hire bookkeepers and accountants for for the government. Fuck the government. This is for your benefit. It's to get you from where you are to where you want to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I apologize for lecturing at you, but I get really, really, really mad when I see shit like this because
No, I appreciate it. I don't take it any negative way. I like it, and I trust you. So it's fine. I like it.
because I see this a lot. And most bookkeepers and accountants are just there to collect money. They're not there to help people. And it really bothers me. Okay. So if you don't have any other questions, we'll leave it here. I'll send you the links. Pay for it. Um, and you know what? I'll do you a favor. Send me, tell your bookkeeper or accountant that I need a 4-year comparable. I will look at it. I won't charge you yet. If I see I can make some real improvements on the financials, then I'll send you an invoice 2 weeks from now. But whatever we can learn from it right away, we can start fixing right away. Okay, is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'll leave it here. Have a good night, Brian. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it.